everybody, welcome to Drier Days Art Studio. My name is Catherine. Thank you so much for being with me today. In this video I'm going to be using art resin and some mica pigments and a little bit of alcohol ink by Liquitex. And I wanted to put this video up of this triangle piece because I posted it on my Facebook group, Acrylic Pouring and Fluid Painting, and people were interested, doing a lot of great work over there with fluid and flow acrylics and a couple people doing resin, and I wanted to show this piece that I did in resin. To the left lower corner there, you can see 3 small cups with blue, red, and gray colors in them. Now those are mica powder, and I did a little research on YouTube about how to use mica powder in resin, and I'll get into that in 1 second. I just want to note here that I am pouring in my resin, and I did use art resin. It is a little bit pricier, but I do find it superior to other resins. They have a great YouTube channel with 1 to 2 minute tutorials and instruction on how to properly use their resin, and I made sure I watched all of them before I got started, and it really helped. So back to the mica powders. What I learned in doing some research was if you take a little bit of rubbing alcohol and put it in a small cup like the ones I have over there, and then add in a little bit of the mica powder and stir it all in completely, make sure there aren't any lumps or anything else like that, it'll give a really nice consistency to then pour in your resin. And the reason for this is I have heard that you really don't want to put anything water-based in your resin. Now, I know this conflicts with what a lot of people do, including myself, who use acrylic-based paints in their resin because acrylic-based paints are water-soluble and water-based. And so I was a little confused here, but I thought, let me give it a try with just the rubbing alcohol. So I'm curious as to if you all agree with that acrylic paints and resin don't mix. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. I appreciate it. So I am just now integrating those pigment powders that I've mixed with the rubbing alcohol and gotten them to a nice fluid consistency, no lumps or anything. And the reason for the rubbing alcohol that I learned was to sort of get those lumps broken up. If you pour the mica powder directly into the resin, you can still get little chunks and things like that from the mica powder, or hard pieces. They're not completely broken down, and the rubbing alcohol helps to break them down. And from what I understand, once you put them in the resin, that alcohol will kind of evaporate out. This triangle came gessoed and primed on the top. On the sides, as you can see there a little bit, I did put a black paint, several coats of it to make it nice and opaque on the sides. And now I am incorporating some black acrylic ink by Liquitex into the resin. I did look up the alcohol inks. It doesn't say whether they're water-based or not. It doesn't say anything about mixing them with resin, but I did want more of a black background on this. I knew I wanted that, and as I was mixing up the mica pigments in the resin, it didn't look like they were going to be very opaque. It looked like they were going to be beautiful and shiny and have some glitter and other features in there, but I just really wanted that flat black appearance on the back of this triangle. I had a little bit of extra resin, so I was trying to make a lot of black. That's just what I'm adding in there, is a little bit more clear resin to my black mixture. I will say that the art resin is non-toxic. It definitely has a less odor than other resins that I've used. However, I did still have a window open and my door open to my studio, which does help with ventilation. I recommend everybody does that, no matter how non-toxic the products you're using are. Even when I'm just using straight up acrylics in my other pouring medium, sometimes I do like to have a window open if it's nice enough out, just to get that ventilation going. It's important to be safe while we're doing this, especially because this technique is so addicting and we can get trapped in our studio for hours on end, and just want to make sure we're being safe about it. The next half of this video will be time-lapsed as I lay the resin down where I want it, just for time purposes. I will say that start to finish, this took me about 17 to 18 minutes, and I shortened this video down to about 11 as far as working time, just to save you guys time and boredom and listening to me talk. So as you can see here, just kind of laying that black down to give me a nice base to work with. Like I said, I wanted this pretty dark. decided to do a dirty flip cup with my resin at this stage. I have done this before and gotten some nice results, and I wanted to give it a go here. It was a little nerve-wracking. I hadn't used resin in a while, and I really liked this triangle. I didn't want it to go to waste, so I was a little nervous, but I think it did end up turning out pretty nice. Incorporating my torch here to pop a few little bubbles that I saw, and also keeping the resin warmer will help you move it around more. So you can use a heat gun, or I've seen that used. I primarily use a torch with my resin. Should mention I do have my back taped there, if you can see, with the blue painter's tape, and all the products and tools that I use, you can find links in the description below to buy, including the resin and the mica powders. But per what I learned on the art resin tutorials is tape your backs, and after 24 hours the resin is hard to the touch, and then you can peel your tape off, and it'll come off easily, and then after 72 hours your resin is completely cured. So I had run into this problem with other resins where I had done things like tiles, and I had the back taped, and I poured resin on the tiles and I let it dry, and I didn't come back to it for probably several days. And by the time I did, it was so cured and rock hard on that tile that I could not pull my tape off. And I had these huge hard drips on the underneath, and I could not get the tape off, and they were essentially ruined because of that. Covering your sides and edges can be pretty important with resin. I did want this entire thing to be nice and shiny all the way around. It would look pretty cool though to leave, drips on the side, especially since I had that black background already in place along the sides, but I did want the entire thing to be shiny, so I am just going around here and making sure that all of my sides are covered with resin and blending it in, and also going around and rubbing off that underneath to get any extra resin drips off the bottom. Again, with acrylic pours, this will help from the resin pulling over the sides and moving your work and stretching things out, and also make it easier in 24 hours when you want to pull that tape off and you don't have humongous drips under there. Purchased this triangle a while back, and the company that I purchased it through no longer sells these, unfortunately, but this is in about a 1 1/4 inch cradle. So I have this triangle sitting on 2 red Solo cups. That's really the best thing that I have to balance these on. I did make sure it was level before I started. I find for me that acquiring something to keep these pieces elevated on that is completely flat is half of the battle with doing my resin work. Sometimes if I do an acrylic painting and I have it sitting here and I've really scraped off the edges and I know that it's really clean, I'll even, set it on a plastic bag on the level floor. But with resin, you really can't do that, because if you set it on a plastic bag on the floor, it will dry to the plastic bag, and then you've got an issue on your hands. So you do want to find something that is conducive to keeping them elevated, and keeping them elevated for the entire 72 hours until they completely cure. And this is the piece still wet. And I just love it. This art resin really dries for me just like glass. I don't run into any problems with pockets or bubbles, and I just love it. You can see there how nice and smooth the light is reflecting off of it. And here it is totally dry. I just wanted to show a couple shots and angles of it. I love just the glitter of the mica powder in there and how it shimmers without being too glittery. So I love this piece. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and keep on pouring, everybody.